Hi everyone, I am Chef Manuel Bouillet and I am Chef Alexis Bouillet, and today we're gonna do together the Cointreau Exotic Cup. If you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so now we're gonna get started with the first step, which is gonna be the banana pancake for our exotic Cointreau cup. So over here are the ingredients. I'm gonna explain you how to combine them together. So to get started with this recipe, we will have first the whole eggs. I will put them into the KitchenAid bowl. And then in addition, we will have the sugar and inverted sugar. Over here, the inverted sugar is gonna help you to keep the moisture in your pancake. However, if you do not have any, then you can just replace with regular sugar. We put those three ingredients, and then I'm gonna start to use the KitchenAid to whip them together. And while Manuel is whipping the eggs and also the sugar, I'm just gonna melt the butter either way in the microwave, or if you have just a saucepan, just to melt it. So the goal over here is to whip it at a very light texture, very foamy, in order to have some light pancake. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you the texture. Look how fluffy it is, very white, very foamy. So in this mixture over here, Alexis is mixing on the side the almond flour, the flour T55 and the baking powder. Alright, so progressively, I'm gonna pour like all the powders inside and we fold slowly. And then following by the banana puree. So we're gonna use today the 6 cm mold. I'm gonna slightly spray the inside of the mold in order to release more easily our pancake. And then we'll put about 30 grams of banana pancake into the mold. Okay, so now I'm gonna use the packing bag and then simply pour our pancake mixture, approximately 30 grams, which is not all the way to the top. We're gonna leave a little bit of room because then the pancake will slightly go up. Nice, the texture is very smooth, and you will see that also the fact that he incorporates two types of sugar, the pancake will remain very moist, and also maybe you can talk about the baking process for this pancake. No? Yeah, so for the baking process, over here we're gonna bake it usually around 160 degrees Celsius, which is quite basic. And then regarding this side, it should take about like 12 to 14 minutes. Perfect. Okay, so now we are ready to put into the oven. Alright, so for the second part of this Cointreau cheese cup, then we're gonna do the cheesecake. As the name is saying, it's a cheese cup. So the base will be actually also a cheesecake. This one we're gonna flavor it with passion fruit. Let's get started. Okay, so to start the cheesecake, we need first the cream cheese, and I'm gonna pour the cream cheese into a pitcher and then reheat slightly in the microwave in order to make it slightly softer. So Alexis is gonna help me over here to slightly reheat it in the microwave. And then you will see this recipe is actually quite simple because we will just combine everything together except one ingredient, the gelatin mass. Okay, I put it into the microwave just for a few seconds just to make it slightly softer, so it doesn't need to be super warm. Over here we have the passion fruit puree. However, if you want to replace with other kinds of puree, it is possible as well, such as, well, mango. Yeah, mango, of course, passion fruit right now. We can also use the yuzu juice, lime juice, lemon juice, even some mandarin puree, up to you. Of course, most of the citrus will work pretty well for this kind of applications. So then we'll have the eggs, and then we will finish with our sugar. So we combine together, and then you will see that we will have over here the gelatin mass. Gelatin mass is a combination between gelatin powder and water together. The ratio is always 10 grams of gelatin powder and 60 grams of cold water combined together. So this will reserve it for later and then only for the end. Right now we're gonna combine all those ingredients together and then we will make it very smooth. So what you can do, you can use also a spatula just to scrape nicely on the side. That will make it easier to combine together. And then we're just gonna mix it until completely smooth. So then here we are, we have a nice and shining texture, ready to go. So we're gonna pour this mixture back over here in the small bowl. And then the goal over here is gonna be to bake it, not just like this in the oven, but with a double water bath. That will help to preserve the outside of the cheesecake and make sure that the cheesecake is not burning on the side. So that's why over here, on the side, I prepared a larger bowl with some water inside. So this is gonna cover it with 2 layers of plastic wrap, and then the gelatin mass, I will just reserve it on the side. And as soon as our cheesecake will be baked, then we will apply this gelatin mass and then blend again together. In terms of baking temperature, we will bake it at 120 degrees Celsius for about 45 minutes. Alright, so now for the third step of our Cointreau cheesecake cup, then we're gonna do the coulis. The coulis will be the top of the cheesecake. And then it's gonna be very liquid and runny inside. You will see, we're gonna get started with the puree. So first over here, I combine together the banana puree, mango puree, and passion fruit puree. Then we have a small touch of vanilla bean paste, and we'll add a tiny amount of sugar. Then on the side, of course, we'll have the Cointreau 60. That will make the flavor even increase the flavor and also to make it more refreshing. So just a little touch will help you to enhance the final flavor. So over here we have only a small quantity of sugar because what we want is to have like a very exotic flavor and orange flavor together, but we don't want to bring too much sweetness. And that's why we're using also the Cointreau 60. Cointreau 60 does not contain any sugar, just gonna bring some flavor in your product. So we just combine together in order to dissolve our sugar, just with the whisk, very simply. And now I'm gonna scale my Cointreau 60. Also, the Cointreau 60 is really adapted for this kind of preparation because we don't want something too, let's say, liquid. We still want to keep the thickness of the puree. So just by adding a little bit, because it's 6 times more concentrate than the regular Cointreau 40, so very easy just to incorporate a little bit and keep the same texture. Okay, so you see, I just simply combined with the whisk. Okay, so now I'm gonna use the dispenser in order to pour the mixture into my half-sphere mold. Very simply, pour into it and then we'll pour up to the top. So then after Manuel finishes this step, we can put it into either way blast freezer or just the regular freezer to make it nice and firm, and later on we'll be able to dip it into our Kappa coating. Okay, so directly into the blast freezer. Then we're gonna make the Cointreau whipped ganache. Then we will see you these very simple ingredients I'm gonna explain to you. Okay, so over here we'll start first with our cream number 1 and gelatin mass. I'm gonna place those two together into a pitcher and then start to melt in the microwave, usually around like 60 degrees Celsius. In addition over here, as you can see, I also have a little bit of glucose. Glucose will improve the texture of our whipped ganache. Over here on the side, we'll have the white chocolate. White chocolate brings you some creaminess and of course a little bit of sweetness in this chantilly. Then we'll have the remaining cold cream, and of course at the end we'll add the Cointreau 60. The Cointreau 60 needs to be added in the recipe below 40 degrees Celsius in order to keep the flavor but also keep the alcohol into the recipe, otherwise it will completely evaporate. Over here in this recipe we have some white chocolate, and this is why we call it a whipped ganache. A whipped ganache is always based on like a cream and then chocolate together. just combine, and then this is what we call the base of ganache. And then here it's a whipped ganache, so we'll have some extra cream later on in the recipe. So after putting it to the microwave, just check it. It's around 60-65 degrees, so which is fine. So then we can put our white chocolate. Then the heat of the cream is gonna actually melt our chocolate, and then we're gonna blend together with the remaining cream, and then towards the end we'll add the Cointreau 60. Okay, so now on the side I'm gonna scale the Cointreau 60, and by the time Alexis will start to blend the whipped ganache. Okay, so the first part of the ganache is already well emulsionate. Now we add the cold cream. Okay, and then now we are ready to add the Cointreau 60 and blend again. Okay, so now the chantilly is nice and smooth. So before we use it, as you can see right now, it's still slightly warm, or at least at room temperature. So you don't want to whip it right now, because anyway, you won't be able to whip it. So the best way is to place it in the refrigerator for a couple hours, and then the cream should be around like 2-3 degrees Celsius, and then we will whip it. Okay, so now our cheesecake has been baked, so we be careful because it's very hot. Then I'm gonna remove it from the water, and I will show you the texture. So the goal over here is to have your cheesecake that's like what we call jiggling. That means it's set, but then it should be still very, very soft. So we be careful, it's very hot. And you see like the texture should be quite soft still. Okay, so now I'm gonna transfer my hot cheesecake into the pitcher. It will be easier for me to blend it with the gelatin mass. And then on the side we have the gelatin mass. I will just pour over it, and then we blend it until we get a very smooth texture. And then we can use it directly. Okay. So we can start with the small spatula, and then after we'll finalize to blend it. Okay, so now as you can see we have a beautiful and shiny texture. So this is ready to go. I'm gonna take my silicone mold and then simply pour inside the mold. And here is the mold, which is a 4 cm diameter silicone mold, and Manuel will just pour the preparation on each of them. So you can use the pitcher since the cheesecake is a bit liquid. However, if you prefer to use a piping bag, it will work perfectly fine as well. Okay, so now the preparation is finished. We just place into the blast freezer just for a few hours until it's nice and cold, and we'll be able to unmold it and put it on the top of the sponge. Alright, so as you can see, right now our cheesecake are nicely frozen. I'm gonna simply place them on the sheet pan previously wrapped. It's very important to have your insert nicely frozen, because as you can see, it's quite easy to unmold, and then the shape will remain the same. Alright, so we put that back, of course, into the freezer, nice and cold, and we're gonna whip the chantilly, and then we'll pipe directly on it. Here we have our Cointreau whipped ganache, and it's nice and cold. I also placed in the refrigerator the bowl of the KitchenAid to keep everything nice and cold. So now let's start to whip it. Alright, so now let me show you the texture. Whipping it's actually quite important. You don't want to have something too hard and not something too soft. If it's too soft, then it will be very runny. But if it's too hard, it will be the texture of the cream won't be very good. So you want to have a kind of soft texture as it is. And then will be a beautiful texture to pipe it. So let's place this whipped ganache into a piping bag. And I also prepare a round nozzle, approximately 8 mm. Okay, so now I'm gonna use the chantilly and pipe all around it and on the top, and then we'll create like an organic effect by doing some waves with a spoon. We don't need to be very even and accurate, because then we create the waves with the spoon. So then, right now I'm gonna use some hot water with a Parisian spoon. So this spoon will allow me to create a cavity in the center of the cream. So this cavity over here will be the spot for our jelly. Alright, so our next step will be the kappa jelly. You have to imagine that this jelly will be outside of the coulis, and then the inside will be actually very soft. In order to start this kappa jelly, we start here with the water. I'm gonna start to heat it slowly, and then on the side we'll have the sugar and the kappa powder. I already pre-mixed them both together. Let's start to sprinkle slowly over the water, and then whisk really well. Then we'll bring to a boil. What is really great with this technique is like you can use it as a base, and then inside you can create whatever you want. Today we have an example with some exotic fruits, but then you can also make it exactly the same way with strawberries, raspberries, etc. etc. So pretty nice technique to cover lots of applications. Okay, so it's now boiling. We're gonna stop the induction, and then on the side we're gonna pick up our coulis and then start dipping. I'm gonna transfer here into a smaller container. It will be easier for me to dip the coulis. Okay, so now we are ready. I'm just gonna unmold them one by one, and we'll be able to dip it. So we just take it with a toothpick, and then we just dip inside for about like 1 or 2 seconds, and then we'll drop over here on the clean parchment. As soon as it starts to defrost, then we can start to remove slowly the toothpick. I'm not gonna place those coulis into the refrigerator, and then we'll use them later on. Okay, so now over here the top has been nicely frozen, and we already placed the pound cake right on the tray, or you can place it also on the board ready for the pastry shop, and we're gonna place simply the top on the pound cake. So just with a spatula and a small knife, and then slowly drop it in the center. To finalize this petit gâteau, we're gonna take delicately the jelly and then place in the cavity in the center. We need to be very delicate and gentle because it's very fragile. So of course after this step we need to wait of course a few more minutes until the capsule on the top is totally defrosted, and then the idea is like when you cut it you will get something very yolky in the middle. Okay, so final step. We'll just take the candy peel and then place on the top. So we try to bring a little bit of volume, that is the goal here. Just 3 small pieces will be okay. Here we are, our Cointreau cheese cup. Okay, so now it's tasting time. So I'm gonna cut all the way, and then we will see that the inside will be actually quite liquid. Oh, nice. Yeah, you have this yolk. Yeah, very yolky in the middle. This is all what I like. Cheesecake is really creamy. Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice contrast between the freshness of the Cointreau, and also you have the nice texture from the pancake. Yeah, we love it. Cointreau is really refreshing the whole cake. You know, like inside the coulis there is like a little boost of alcohol, but more refreshing than alcohol side. But combination is really nice. So we hope you will like it, and then this kind of petit gâteau can be kept easily in your display case in your pastry shop for 1 to 2 days, but of course, eat it the day off, it will be the best.